What's up guys, welcome back to another vlog here at throtl. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Andrade, gonna be your host again today as I do some more work on my Mazda RX-7. As you guys saw in a previous video, we got it fired up, sounded amazing, and then it blew up. So as you know, the motor's out of the car, motor's stripped behind me back here, ready to go off to the engine builder on Saturday. So with the motor being out of the car, now I can actually tackle the interior and all the things that I was gonna wait off to do because I don't have to worry about it being intact to be able to start it. So I was gonna hold off on a lot of this stuff until the car was running and I could enjoy it for a while. But now that it's gonna be down for a few weeks, now is a perfect time to rip the whole interior out of the car and get it cleaned up properly. I am gonna go ahead and do the black interior conversion, which I was gonna wait off till version 2 to do of the car. Now's the perfect time. I've got a lot of the bits here already, so might as well just go ahead and go forth. I went ahead and spent a little time today with the new dashboard. So basically the old dashboard was yanked out of the car yesterday. I went ahead and basically laid them side by side, went ahead and put all of the stuff back into this dash that was on that dash. So the bash bar back here in the back, I did get a brand new wiring harness, so I removed the old dash wiring harness and put the new one in. This is my old glove box cleaned up and installed on the new dash. This is my center vent and my passenger side vent from my dash, all cleaned up. I basically took them apart down to every little detail and just went full Mickey spec on them, scrubbed everything, cleaned everything. Those vents, those and that, used to look like that. So obviously I spent a lot of time on them today. Another thing that I haven't showed you guys is I actually got a brand new, they call this the hood and cluster face or meter face. This is brand new from Mazda. These are my gauges out of my car, but my old cluster face, which is here, was pretty banged up, as you can see. Pretty ugly and scratched and just kind of coming apart. Everything's falling off, the tabs are broken. Just overall in pretty sad condition. So I went ahead and sprung for a new one. So I can go ahead and mount that. It mounts on here, on these 3 spots, and plugs into all these harness plugs here for the cluster to make everything function. This thing is gonna look pretty sick. I'm stoked. So the dashboard is basically like brand new. My new door cards are basically like brand new. I need to come up with a seat solution. We did return a set of stock seats to an upholsterer this week, SOS Customs out of Oceanside. They looked about as bad as my seats here, and they're already knocking them out. We're gonna have those very soon to put back in TJ's car. And so I think I might drop off my set as well and have those redone. If they can turn them around in 3 or 4 days, that's pretty respectable. So might do that. And then the last thing is basically get the carpet out of the car and get a new carpet kit in the car. We're currently still running the beige carpet, which as you guys saw when I picked up the car, it was filthy. I scrubbed it. We kind of scrubbed it with some water bath and steam cleaner, but it's not great. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that cleaned up right now. This is really filthy. This is all under the dash, so I gotta get that all tidied up. I am going to today do a shifter rebuild for you guys. So one of the problems with the FD RX-7 shifters is that they get sloppy and they break down over time. There's a shifter bushing on the bottom of the shift lever that actually is made out of plastic and it breaks or it wears out. TJ's was broken into like 3 or 4 pieces. Then there's also some other bits in there, bushings and things that need to be replaced. So I've gone ahead and sourced those parts from Mazda. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the shifter out of the car, and now's a great time since it's all blown apart. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that all together and show you guys how to do it. So if you have an FD or even an FC or any other car for that matter, they're all generally the same. You can do this yourself. It's very simple. You just have to get the right parts and you're good to go. Well, so in typical fashion, got 3 of the nuts off, and yeah, the 4th nut decided to fall down behind the handbrake. So luckily I got my handy dandy magnetic tool here, and see if we can find it. Or if we find any other cool little things. Oh, hey, look at that. Wow, came out with some, geez, there's more hair on that nut than there is on my beard. That's disgusting. Anyway, all right, so 3 of those, or 4 of the nuts are off of the shifter. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go ahead and get this thing out, maybe. This is what I was saying. You can see how cracked and destroyed this is. Watch this. I bet you I can just, yeah, it's destroyed. So, good thing we're doing this. Go ahead and, oh my God. Rip. It's actually stuck to the metal. So that was the two, oh, it's all the way through. I can see the floor underneath there. It's transmission. Yeah, so it's good that we're doing this. See, this is kind of stuck, so there we go. Yeah, screwdriver would come in handy. So this thing is completely blown out, clapped to high hell and back, and there we have our transmission. So this is the other boot. As you can see, it is also in shambles, and you can actually see the shift ball, the pivot, right through it. So it is completely destroyed. So we're gonna go ahead and remove these 3 nuts, and that will allow us to release the gear lever itself. It actually feels pretty good. There is, when it's in gear, there is this little bit of slop. It's fairly normal, but this is what that bushing is going to take care of. This little bit it's very like herky-jerky. That bottom bushing will hopefully tighten that up for us. So yeah, let's get these off. Okay, now that those are off, we can hopefully pull our shifter out. Yep, there it goes. Oh, actually ours is still intact, so this is actually a really good sign. So that little bit of play we were feeling in there may have been normal, so that's a good and a bad sign. The gear oil in here smells pretty freaking bad. I'm definitely gonna want to do a gear oil change. We only have 1 bushing in the front of this shift mechanism. I got 2 from Mazda, but if you can focus, come on. That white bushing that I showed you guys earlier goes in here in the ball, and there is a detent pin inside. I'll try to show you. Let's see. Right here, that pivots in. This or actually resides in. So when you put it in, that kind of clocks the shifter where it needs to be. That's kind of a keyway, I guess, is the best way to put it. Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get this over to the bench and pull it apart and get this all cleaned up. So as you can see, the rubber is a little stuck to this, so we'll go ahead and get this cleaned up. This is also a great time to throw a coat of paint on the shifter if you want. This one's a little rusty, missing our bottom bushing. So this bottom bushing must still be in the transmission. As you can see, we have 2 of these here. This is this, and then this one will go underneath the bottom. So we're ready to install those. This is our bushes. This bush actually goes in here. There must be another one somewhere that I'm not seeing, because it calls for 2 when you do this setup. So we'll see, but for now we're gonna go ahead and get this all taken apart and put the new bits on. Gonna go ahead and use a little bit of brake parts cleaner. Get this cleaned off a bit. Get all the old grease off of it. Just so we know we do a nice good job of installing. We don't have any gunk in there. There is quite a bit of residual rubber left on here, so we'll go ahead and try to get that off. Probably go ahead and use a knife to do that. Okay, now that we got the shifter all cleaned up, it's ready to go. We're gonna go ahead and start reinstalling the new parts. I'm gonna do some little treatment on the shifter once we are finished installing all the new parts on it, to make it look a little nicer, because as you can see, it's rather rusty. Went ahead and got that bushing out of here, so we're gonna go ahead and install the new bushing. which is that guy there, and the rest of the stuff as well. Bushing just pops in. There's just a round hole in the shifter and a round provision on the back of the bushing, so we're just gonna go ahead and pop that in. And then the next thing will be the top rubber bush, or the top bushing. This is actually made out of what seems like a hard rubber, and this is actually going to allow the transmission to seal around the shifter, and this will also hold grease to stay lubricated. So one of these has a metal ring on it. I'm assuming this is a seal of some sort. This metal ring actually is the one that goes on top. This one actually goes into your shifter housing. So we'll slip this over, and I'll show you. That has to go on first because this guy right here, you see how small that hole is? We have to slide this over this, and as you can see, those are two very different diameters. So I know because I recently did this on TJ's car. I basically just put some WD-40 or PB Blast or any type of oil lubricant on here, and you just kind of give this a shove over the top, and it'll go down around the collar down here. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some lubricant and do that real quick. Alright, so now that that's on, we're gonna go ahead and wipe off the excess PB Blaster. Get that out of the way because we'll be done with that for now. This should make a nice seal right up underneath the collar of the shifter, and then this will seal to the top of our transmission. Next step is to install the bottom shifter bushing. This is the aluminum counterpart to the lousy plastic one that was brittle and broke when we pulled it off. So this will replace that part, and that goes on the bottom here. I'm just gonna go ahead and use a little bit of axle packing grease just to lube this thing up before I stick it on. I just put a little bit on my finger, and then I just put a little bit inside this, just to kind of give it, I don't know, just to kind of give it a little bit of lube before it goes on. Should make it easier to push on once it's got a little bit of grease on it, and there it goes. So it clicks right on, and the ball pivots on it real nice. So essentially now we're ready to go stick this thing in the car. We do need to remember to remove the bottom round bushing from the transmission, because that will be in the way if we don't, and you won't get this thing seated properly. So let's see if we can get that out. I grab our pick tool and find her in there. So I've gone ahead and reinstalled the bottom bushing, the new one. It's in here ready to go, so this ball will sit inside there onto it and give it a good surface to pivot on. But I'm gonna take a step back real quick, and as I told you, I wanted to clean this up a little bit. So I really like brushed finishes and stuff like that. So I'm actually going to grab a piece of Scotch-Brite, so a piece of Scotch-Brite, and just kind of give this a once over. Just to get the rust off of it. Alright, well, it's not perfect. There's still a little bit of surface rust up towards the neck. Being that this is an OEM shifter, I'm not that worried about it. There is a boot that goes over it and a shift knob that goes down over it. I'm gonna go ahead and just put a little bit of light oil on it so that it doesn't get any work, and just reinstall it. I think it'll look great. Okay, so as I suspected, with the new aluminum bushing in, it does get rid of a lot of the slop in the shifter. Pretty happy with this. Very direct feel. I think it's awesome. Man, it's like brand new. So now I can go ahead and button this all back up. So we've got the one last boot that seals this is the new boot, that's the old boot. And these seal the inside of the car from the outside of the car. Alright, well, this boot has a pretty tight tolerance on it. There's a plastic ring around the rubber section at the top that is meant to keep it tight around the shifter. It is very tight. So I went ahead and just put a little bit of grease on there to see if I can get it to slide over a little easier. And it does not look like it's wanting to cooperate. There we go. Okay. That worked. So now we'll wipe off the excess grease. And then we've got two more little rubber surrounds that go over top of the shifter. Not really sure what exactly these do. we'll go ahead and stretch them over and get them situated. All right, well that wasn't too bad. That took me about 30 minutes or so. Fairly simple. I think it was probably about 200 bucks in parts to do it. But man, it feels real crispy and it's gonna make the driving experience when I do get this car back on the road that much better. Feels brand new. Hopefully the hopefully the gears and synchros and everything inside the transmission are just as good. From what I could tell, they seem good. Well, that'll conclude the shifter rebuild install for today. I'm glad you guys joined me. It's been a little bit of a bittersweet week for me with the engine situation, but it's allowing me to get the other things on the car done, which is cool. And I'm looking forward to heading up to rebuild the engine later this week. We've got some really awesome content coming up for you, so subscribe, like, leave us some comments down below what you think about the project and what else you'd like to see involved with the project. And we'll see you next time.